Welcome, everyone. There's no dubs today. We have Jimmy and Wonga and Craig's here. We've got a special guest to talk some Canada, Peru, to talk some Euros, and to talk some CPL from Vancouver FC. It is Callum Irving. Callum, welcome back to Footy Prime, and I apologize for Wonga's appearance, but here you are. Welcome.
That's okay. We accept everybody for who they are around here, I think, right?
We
well
are
played,
inclusive.
Callum. Well
That is
played.
for sure. We are inclusive. All right, let's get to the big story. Canada beating Peru 1-0. Can we please stop talking about this as being Canada's first major win at a major tournament, please? As memory serves, once upon a time, we did win a Confederations championship, right? As in the CONCACAF Confederation. Did we not? We won the Gold Cup? Right, Craig?
Yeah, well, outside of that and getting invited or qualifying for the Copa America, which is obviously a rare thing, that's the biggest tournament we can win outside of the World Cup.
Right. Listen, I'm taking nothing away from last night. It was fantastic. Just a little pet peeve. I'm seeing a lot of people who should know better. Right? Gold Cup, love it or hate it, is a major competition for Canada. Anyway, listen, Callum, Canada beat Peru 1-0. What should the takeaway be? Is it the resilience and finding a way to win, or is it that they're actually outplayed for most of that match?
For me, watching it, I think it's still, a new coach trying to implement a new system. And, it's kind of been trial by fire a little bit when you think about the two friendlies and then jumping into their first Copa American. So for me, I'm not being overly critical and thinking about, getting outplayed. I'm thinking about trying to find the positives within the performance, and then the fact that they're able to get a result and kind of push themselves towards, progression out of the group, I think is just a huge positive. And I think you see this is such a difficult tournament to play in. I think last night was some of the antics on the field were pretty fitting of that tournament. And I think that they were able to kind of ride that and not completely lose themselves while still trying to, progress in the way that Jesse wants them to play, I think was great. And then, you get a goal out of Jonathan David, and I think that only spells good things moving forward when you get your strikers, on the score sheet, the guys you want scoring. And so, I think despite all the difficulties that they've been having, I'm very positive. And I definitely don't want to be looking at, maybe the down points, look more towards the positives.
I would agree with that, Callum. I really would. Managing the game, I thought, was excellent. They struggled in the second part of the first half. They looked as though they were tired a little bit. It was hotter than hell. So that was difficult conditions to deal with. And then you're right, the antics. People have to realize that different cultures, different tournaments bring different challenges. And I think that that's part of the learning curve for our national team, which I thought they dealt with very, very well. They could have easily lost their heads. I think that was the game plan from the Peruvian side and their manager. And he was still complaining about the antics after the game, after his team headbutted and were throwing leg-breaking challenges around. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking about.
And the headbutt. How do you not get sent off for that headbutt?
I don't know. I mean, VAR's there for
And
a
it went to
reason,
VAR. I don't
know,
understand.
Were you yelling at the TV, Jimmy? Were you yelling at the TV?
I was losing my mind at one point.
I
can see that. Yeah. Well,
it's part of it because Alistair, okay, he went to deck, and obviously he needs to, but he didn't make too much of it. If that had been reversed, if that was a Peruvian being headbutted by
they'd be
Alex
still
Johnson,
rolling.
he'd still be rolling.
Yeah,
Right?
You're right, Sharms, and that's the problem with our game is somewhat is that unless you reel around and you're embellishing to a point, you're not going to get the call, and that's a sad thing because it was evident that the headbutt was enough to. I think that 99.9% of the time you're getting sent off for that. Like it's just I don't understand how he stayed on the pitch.
I think that's the thing too with being Canadian. When we play, we're honest. We're going tough. We play aggressive, but we get up and we get on with it. Whereas a lot of the Central and South American teams, they make a meal out of everything, and they're looking to get you sent off. And you're right. I think if Johnson went down and he started rolling around, I think it could have been a different outcome.
Callum, did you hear the comments post-match by the Peruvian coach? He was criticizing the physicality of Canada's players. He was saying, and they're holding shirts and stuff and everything. Like, piss off.
I mean, when you see the pre-match comments, I think you can only expect the post-match to follow the same, kind of commentary. So, it's such an interesting thing when you talk about, going down for a headbutt and having to make more of it than what it is when you have however many camera angles, VAR and everything, and it's somehow on the guy getting headbutted to try and show you that it's what it is. But, I mean, you see it all across the pitch, right? You see it a lot with penalties. Guys are getting pulled, tackled, and they're trying to fight through that to try and get a goal. And a lot of times when they fight through it and they try and shoot and score and they miss or it gets blocked or something like that, or maybe they're just not able to get the shot off, the refs aren't going to give them a penalty for that because it looked like they were still able to try and get a chance out of it. So it's almost paying to, try and embellish to get that foul, which I think is super unfortunate because, I think you can tell when somebody's been affected enough for a foul. I think you can tell when somebody's been headbutted. I think you can tell when, a studs up challenge has gone into a guy's shin and it's deserving of a red card or a penalty or whatever it is. And I don't think it should be on the players to try and make the most of it to try and get those calls.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I agree.
I was a bit surprised the second one was a red card because I had my doubts.
I agree.
Yeah, listen, they're both red cards, but if you had to pick one as being the more blatant of the two, it's clearly the headbutt. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that was still a leg breaker, was it not? I mean, that second one, that was a nasty.
Very fortunate. You got his studs off the ground, yeah.
Yeah.
And at that point, I mean, listen, Canada, they didn't play as well, I don't think, Jimmy, as they did against Argentina. Maybe I was kind of lost in the whole occasion of the first match against Argentina. But they weren't great yesterday. It seemed that at times they're a little bit overwhelmed, especially in that first half. Peru were on them. There was no time on the ball. I think Stevie Caldwell called them frantic, Jimmy, which was, I thought, a pretty good word to describe Canada for much of that game.
Yeah, I think you're right. Peru did have quite a bit of possession and move the ball around. And you got to expect as well when you play teams, whether it's Peru or even Chile, you're going to go through moments of the match where you don't have possession, but you've got to be comfortable enough in defending and not get overwhelmed and start chasing things. I thought at times we looked a little bit disorganized when we were defending. We chased it a little bit, and it took us a while really to settle in and find out, what our shape is going to be, when we're going to win this ball, and be a little bit more organized than what we were at times. But I thought overall, I mean, look, not every game is going to be pretty. It really isn't. Against France, it was a different kind of game. Against Argentina, it was a different game. Against Peru, it's more of a physical. They wanted a battle. They wanted to annoy us. And good teams find a way to win. And for us to come away with that win wasn't pretty, but at the end of the day, it's tournament football. We needed 3 points. And we ended up getting the 3 points. So I would rather us play like that at times and get a result rather than saying, oh, we played amazing, but we lost.
Mm. I think there was a bit of a struggle, like I said, at the end of the first half, and I think Jesse moved almost to a back five. Needed to get to halftime to have a discussion, I think, to get the players basically almost like, I think he even touched on it, being aggressive, but also being calm about it. The first few tackles in the second half, the lads got up and they were shaking hands with all the Peruvian players. I could just see that there was just little bit of a different mentality than we saw under John Herdman, which was a little bit more feisty and more likely to get involved in shenanigans.
And that's also the experience from Jesse Marsh, right? Because he's played the game. He understands it. He knows CONCACAF. He knows he's in South America. He knows these players are going to try to get under, and that's where he was cool and composed. Even on the sidelines, I thought he was very composed.
Right? Yeah, he really was.
And a lot of the time, you're a reflection of your manager. The way your manager is. If he's cool and composed on the side, you're like, okay, we got to keep cool heads. If your manager's on the sideline going absolutely bananas, in a way, it kind of tends to get the players fired up as well. And then that's when they start reacting and doing stupid things. And I thought our experience came through yesterday, and I thought they coped with it and handled it very well.
Yeah, like the Peruvians almost reflected their manager, and he said before that if they want to get into a fist fight, we'll get into a fist fight. Well, they were the ones that are doing stupid shit, really.
Yeah. It was a headbutt, wasn't a fist fight. Scum. Headbutting and spinning.
Street fight charms, use anything.
Yeah, I guess
so. Scottish handshake.
Yeah.
Hey, Callum, I must admit though, when I saw Richie Laryea, drawn into the starting 11, I thought, oh, if this gets nasty, that's
And
Richie's
you got
kind of
booked
game.
early.
You got booked early. I thought,
Wow.
man, this is a red card waiting to happen. But I mean, Richie had something. Did you understand why Jesse put him in there?
Yeah,
left back
definitely.
and push Fonzie up the field, in a more attacking role.
Yeah, I mean, I've played against Richie a few times, and every time he's been an absolute, nuisance to play against because first of all, he's a great player, but second of all, he's just so physical and knows how to use his physicality, and he's never stepping down from anybody. And I think you love to see that mentality when you're on the pitch fighting, with your team. You want guys like that who just there's that bit of ego, there's that bit of bravado, there's that bit of just like. I just don't care, and I'll stand up to anyone, and I'll get stuck in. And also the guys who get stuck in the right way. He might have got a yellow early in the game, but that didn't really affect him too much, I think, throughout the game and just, putting his mark on it. So, I was definitely very pleased to see a slight change from what had been going on in the first 3 games because I think it was very, a lot of the same thing for those first 3 games under Marsh. So just seeing a change was nice. And I thought Richie's perfect for that kind of game.
Does Richie talk out there? Does he chirp?
I think so. I mean, usually I'm a little bit too far away for him to say anything to me. But from what I can tell in the games that I've played against him, if you're going to, foul him or something like that, he's going to get up and it looks like he's having a word with the guys. So I don't think anybody I've played with has had a great time playing against him.
He's fun to watch. What do you make of Tajon Buchanan not getting the start, coming off the bench, which, I must admit, when I saw him come off the bench and you see an Inter Milan player providing depth for Canada, it's like, okay, that's not bad. I mean, I suspect he'll get back in the starting 11 pretty soon. But that was, again, a pretty bold move by Jesse Marsh. Yeah.
I mean, I think most people would say he hasn't looked the most comfortable in the first few games. And, it's such a short amount of time they have together. There's 3 group games, and then you have to try and qualify for the next round. I don't think you can sit and wait around for somebody's form to change. I think you have to try and, induce that as a coach in any way you can. And maybe that's bringing him off the bench and trying to give him a little bit of energy, have a 20-minute cameo, get some confidence like that while giving another guy, a chance to do something. Obviously, Jacob Schaffelberg has been fantastic, and I think you need to try and reward him with minutes wherever you can. And so, bringing him on at halftime, I think, was a great choice. And then, like you said, having somebody like Tajon on the bench, an Inter Milan player, just won the Serie A. We all know his quality. I don't think anybody doubts his quality. I think bodes well for the national team when you don't really feel that presence missed on the pitch in the first 45. I think, you have a lot of guys stepping up, and that gives me reason to be excited about, the depth in the squad and how they can handle tournament football, that you're not relying on 11 guys. I think when we saw Eustachio go down in the World Cup, I think we all felt pretty damaged by that when he wasn't able to play, right? And you don't want to be relying on 1 or 2 guys when you get into tournament football to kind of drag you through. You want to have more depth than that. So, I thought it was a good move by Marsh, and I think overall paid off probably.
Yeah, Jimmy, you mentioned before that one concern for you was the depth, right? You got the 11, 12, maybe 13, decent players, but then when you get beyond that, it could be an issue. We saw 3 subs come on at halftime yesterday, including Schaffelberg. Perhaps there's a bit more depth than we thought.
I don't know, Sharms. I think 13 to 14, I think we're okay. After that, I think we're in trouble.
Right.
That's my opinion. If we get a few injuries, I think we're struggling a little bit. Now, we saw it a little bit against Holland as well in the second half when we started bringing a lot of other players onto the pitch. The game changed, the dynamic changed, the rhythm was out the window. With the 11, 12, 13, I think we're okay. And if we can keep them healthy and work the minutes, I think we'll be all right. But I really am. I'm genuinely worried that if we did get a few injuries, we could be in trouble.
That being said, Craig, Schaffelberg comes on, like Callum mentioned there, looked fantastic again. I know he's raw, but he's got to be coming into the mind of Jesse Marsh for a start at some point, hasn't he? He's 2 games now off the bench, and he's been an impact sub.
Yeah, he's been brilliant. Really, really. I mean, talk about exceeding your expectations for a player, and where he's come from is such a short period of time. It's just, it's incredible. So from a depth point of view, I agree with Jimmy, but at the same time, Jesse Marsh seems to be finding a few gems that seem to be stepping up. And one after another. These players are filling these holes and doing a decent job doing it.
Yeah. You know, the thing is, as well, if it's me and I'm looking at the squad, and maybe if I'm on the bench, I'm desperate to get in there because the amount of attention that this Canadian national team is getting around the world is incredible. You got Kone right now, who's almost done his deal going to Lyon. You got Bambito going to Marseille. And now Schaffelberg, we're hearing, could possibly be Lyon as well. Like they're drawing attention, these players. So
I haven't heard that one yet. When did that rumor pop up, or is that yours?
It's mine.
It's yours. Jimmy, are you breaking something here? Are you a bit of an insider? This is a big moment for us.
It's our insider.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
Really? So Marseille are interested in Schaffelberg?
No, Lyon.
Oh, Lyon. Sorry. Yeah.
Lyon. They're watching him closely. They like what they see of him at the moment.
Callum, you need an agent? I think Callum needs an agent, Jimmy.
Yeah, I would take you. I would take you in a heartbeat. Where do you want to go, bud?
I'll go anywhere.
Even though he's happy where he is.
Yeah, I'm very happy. Very happy.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're Schaffelberg, Callum, so you're a young guy, you're obviously getting lots of minutes in MLS with Nashville. Is now the time to move? Obviously, you're getting showcased in this great tournament. You're not going to turn it down and move, are you, to France? But I mean, you understand why some might recommend and advise him to stay maybe another year or so in MLS.
Honestly, I think when it comes to hype off an international tournament, I think when you're a player, you almost need to take that because, I think we've seen it many times. Guys have a great tournament. They don't get a move right after, and then they fade back into their club football. And, I don't think Schaffelberg has necessarily been a star player for Nashville or lighting it up in the way that maybe he's doing for the national team right now on a consistent basis. So I don't think, there was a lot of talk on him getting a move based upon his play at Nashville. And it's hard to imagine that changing after being gone for a month with the national team and just showing back up in Nashville all of a sudden, valuing him completely differently in terms of, playing in the starting 11. So I feel like if he's getting interest on this could be the moment that he's been working towards. And I think, if you're a player, you might need to take advantage of that because it might not come back again. I would think if he's getting interest from top leagues, then as a Canadian fan, you would want your best players playing in the best leagues possible and testing themselves. And if it doesn't work out, I'm sure, you can go from Lyon back to MLS. I think that move would be a feasible one. Whereas I think if it's open to go to Lyon right now, I would take it.
Yeah,
I would agree with that, Jimmy, because your career's short, and when you get opportunities, they don't come around very often, or for most players. So taking that would be an absolutely brilliant move on his part.
Well, you look at Kone. Kone was at Watford. He's gone through 5 managers. He's plugging away, and all of a sudden he's in the national team and start performing. And now he's going to sign with Marseille. That's incredible. That's really incredible. And same with Bambito as well. He's playing center back now. He hasn't been playing center back for a long time, right? And now in the national team, he's partnering with Cornelius, and now Lyon are signing him. And that's why Schaffelberg, when he's coming off the bench, teams are watching, and now you start catching the eye out of these players. That's why you never know who's watching. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. People are watching. Even at Vancouver right now, you got Grady McDonald. And apparently, there's a lot of clubs in the UK that are sniffing around him. Yeah. What is he, 16 now? What a talent he is. You never know, but there's always people watching.
What's he like in training, Callum?
Yeah.
He's great. He's one of those kids that you have all the time in the world for because he just has a great attitude. He's very humble. He's a guy who's always asking if he can help, if he can pick gear up. If you're carrying something, he offers to take it off of you if you're one of the older players. So he's been raised right, from his family and then also just as a footballer. And he's also one of those guys who doesn't think about who he's going up against. He's just going 100% no matter what. So he's getting stuck into tackles. He's super competitive in the small sided games. He's a big boy for his age too. And, as he starts to, mature and fill out more, I'm sure he'll be able to throw his weight around even better. But I think we all see the potential that's there. And the fact that he's got the attitude to match, I think is what really makes me excited about him and really makes me, want to see him succeed. So I think that's always the best part about a young guy.
That's good to hear. And I remember I watched a couple of games because I was hearing about this kid, and I never got to see him play. And I was actually calling a game, and I couldn't believe for a 16-year-old how physical he was playing.
Yeah.
He just did not care. Going into tackles, throwing his body around. I was like, look at this. He's a young boy, but plays like a man when he crosses that line.
100%. And he's such a nice, quiet kid outside of the lines. But, I think we all probably have played against or with those guys in our careers where they're two completely different people, right? And I always have a ton of respect for those guys because they understand what it means to step on the pitch and fight and, try and be competitive. And he's just one of those kids. He just has it. And we saw it. I saw it for the first time in the off season. We were doing some kind of training with whoever was in town, and he was actually at the other end of the field very randomly doing some 1v1 training with a coach. And we invited him over to do some small-sided games with us. And that was the first time I saw him. And he was thanking me afterwards, but during the training, he was getting after it. And he was, sliding into tackles and taking shots and just being aggressive. And for me, I was just like, whoa, he hasn't even stepped foot into a pro environment yet, and he's already this kind of guy. So, it's exciting. It's exciting for sure.
Callum, we have to ask you about the performance of Max Crepeau over the last few games. Actually, he's never let us down.
When he broke his leg, he let down all of Los Angeles and Canada.
Oh, good God.
Yeah, he's very selfish.
Yeah, his fault, was it?
All his fault.
Yeah. What do you think about his performances?
I think he's been fantastic. He's been exactly what Canada needs. I think when you have a goalie that's on form, it gives confidence to everybody. When they're making the saves that you expect them to make, and then pulling out the ones that you're hoping they make, it's a confidence booster. And I think for Max, knowing him for however long I've known him, the one thing when he goes into these games that gives me confidence in him is that he has this mentality. He's just always been somebody that's believed in himself. He's had a real confidence about himself. I think he's always backed himself, and that shows, because stepping in after not starting the Netherlands game, I think for me personally, I was a little bit shocked that he didn't start. I kind of assumed that he would just take over the mantle, but not getting that first game and then coming in against France, knowing he had to put in a performance to try and take that shirt, he did it, and I thought he would. Because he just has that mentality. He has that kind of fight, that confidence, that little bit of arrogance you need, I think, to insert yourself and assert yourself in those positions. And then just backing it up game after game has been impressive.
It's an interesting one, Callum, is that, at club level, playing for Portland, another Canadian, Pantemis, has actually taken the shirt from Max while he's at the Copa, but has done very well. He's played really well. Conceded one goal, I believe, in his last 4 games. Now, as a goalkeeper, we know that you can go to the national team. You can go anywhere, but the potential, because there's only one spot on the field for a goalkeeper, you can then go back to your club side, and then the manager's like, well, this goalkeeper's done really well for me, and I'm not going to change it. I mean, there's a potential of that happening to Max as well, isn't there?
Always. That's the name of the game. It's funny. It's unless you're a goalkeeper, you don't truly understand the
how
fact
shit it is.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much.
Does it upset the goalkeeper union when that happens? Right?
But that's the funny part about it is that that's where the goalkeeper union kind of comes into it, right? Is you accept the fact that is or can be your fate at any point in time. Right. And if you don't accept that fact, you're going to be absolutely miserable for your entire career, however long it lasts. Most likely it won't last that long if you don't accept the fact that you're completely irreplaceable like this. Yeah. And it happened to me on a much smaller scale than, I don't expect it to happen to Max, but you never know. But I remember I was playing in the USL. I got called up for the Houston Dynamo to go back up Joe Willis in a game. And I come back down. We had played 2 games. The backup goalkeeper got a shutout in both those games, and our coach was Wilmer Cabrera, and he was like, I'm not changing it because, we won the last two clean sheets. I don't care if you've been, playing and had a clean sheet record in the league, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. we play another game, another clean sheet, first round of the playoffs. The goalkeeper has a little bit of a stinker. We get eliminated in like the 95th minute. And then, he blames it on me. he says it's my fault. I went to the Dynamo and he couldn't play me after when I came back. And so that's the kind of stuff you hear as a goalkeeper, and you just have to accept it and go, okay, coach, thanks. And then, waiting for your next opportunity. So
because coaches don't really understand goalkeepers, do they?
No.
And unless obviously
Not all of them.
There are very few coaches that actually were goalkeepers. Right?
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that?
I don't know. It's interesting because you'd think they have a great view of the game, an interesting kind of knowledge of what's going on in front of them.
Nuno Espirito Santo, right? He's the one.
Yeah, that's
percentage-wise. Charms, I think we're probably there. I mean, there's 1 in 11.
That's true.
There's probably 1 in 11 managers that are goalkeeper former goalkeepers.
Is that what it is? Yeah. Good old 10, almost 10%. I think he's making it up. Yeah, he's got no back. He's got no facts to base that on.
No, I think he's just made that up.
I come from the same line of thinking where Craig thinks that Emi Martinez is be a backup to Max right now, which is making quite the rounds on social media.
Hey, I'll tell you something about Martinez, and I've been a fan of his for a long time. I've been a fan of his when he was at Arsenal, when he was being overlapped by keeper after goalkeeper. He was there for 8 years. He played 15 league games. He was on loan to 6 or 7 different clubs.
Yep.
He was fighting for the opportunity, and he got the opportunity. It wasn't until Aston Villa took him in 2020, 2021. He hasn't been in the national team of Argentina that long. 2021, he made his debut. So these things happen really, really quickly. Sometimes you just need that chance, and he finally got it. So I'm a believer in Martinez, but I'm also a believer in Max Crepeau as well, that he can play at the same level consistently as Martinez can if given the chance.
I'm with you. I
love it, Craig.
We have our sound bite. We have our sound bite for Craig.
That's why I tweeted that out.
Done.
I trust him.
Can we circle back to Callum sharing his lowest moment in professional sports? Thanks, Callum. We appreciate that.
Honesty counts around here. Everybody's seen everything, so I don't think I'm sharing anything that's all that surprising to these guys.
Yeah, but it was still your fault. Just say why.
Yeah, it was, and I accepted that. I took that on the chin and moved on.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, I remember at Ipswich when getting called up by Canada, and they were like, "Well, you hadn't been in the team all that long. You've done well, but the backup's going to go in, and if he does well, when you come back, if he's still playing well, unfortunately, you're going to lose your position."
Yeah. I mean, the flip side of that too is kind of crazy. Sorry, just to finish on that, is that backup. That's the moment that he's looking for, right? So I think we've all been in the position where we've been off the pitch waiting for that chance, and maybe it comes in a crazy scenario like that, and then it's up to you to kind of take it, right? So that's the funny part, is that there's always two sides to it, and you don't know which side you're going to be on at any given moment.